Let's get more now from Osama Nazzal. He's a Palestinian affairs analyst and is speaking to us from Jenin in the occupied West Bank. Osama, thank you as always for your time. Do you think that the ceasefire deal, a deal that has long been awaited, will actually lead to a permanent ceasefire in Gaza?
It has been long awaited, as you said, and it was expected to be ratified in June of the last year, but because of the Israeli Prime Minister and his government appetite for killing more Palestinian children and women, he rejected that and kept waiting until today. Now, is it going to be permanent and sustainable? This depends on the intentions and the policies of the Israeli occupation government, and according to the experience with the Israeli occupation, there are no guarantees and you can't predict their next step. And we all noticed how they broke the ceasefire many times with Lebanon. So it is really difficult to predict when it comes to Israel. But from the Palestinian side, as the Palestinians in Gaza announced their commitment to all the terms and articles of this deal, of course, they are going to live up to their promise and keep their commitment.
And Osama, when you speak about no guarantees really here from either side, some analysts have said that Netanyahu may just restart the attacks once all those Israeli hostages or the bodies of those hostages are back home. I mean, even at this moment, we've been showing our viewers live pictures from Tel Aviv where the families of hostages are still out in the streets right there, as we can see, calling for them to come home, saying that they will stay on the streets. They will continue to protest until all are brought home. And perhaps once that is done, Netanyahu will just resume the war against Hamas and the Palestinian people.
Yeah, you know how many times the world, except for the United States and some other European countries, how much pressure they placed on the Israeli occupation government to stop its genocidal campaign, or even at least to allow access of a humanitarian aid, including medicine and the fuel into Gaza over the past 15 months. And Israel did not listen to any of these voices. It did not listen to the voices of millions of the people who took to the streets in the different world capitals calling for a ceasefire. So yes, it is very difficult to guarantee or to take the words of the Israeli occupation Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seriously. However, if Israel backs down on this deal, after the release of the Israeli captives, I think this would be a big blow to the sponsors of this deal and the mediators, including Qatar, Egypt, and the United States and some other countries. So is Netanyahu going to slap these countries in the face, or he is going to fulfill his promise to implement it? This remains unpredictable, and we need to wait and see. But until this moment, as Gaza is under fire, we feel as Palestinians that the ceasefire deal is not there until it is there.
Absolutely, until 10 GMT on a Sunday in Gaza. And the ceasefire is, of course, something that has long been awaited and is much needed. But this doesn't take away the issue of Palestinian statehood, a possible two-state solution. Where does that now stand after the ceasefire? Or do we have to see how things first go in the phases before this issue of Palestinian statehood can be brought up again?
Yeah, it is true that the most important thing is to stop the bloodshed and to stop the murder of the Palestinian children and women and to end the catastrophic situation that Gaza has been going through. This is true, but this does not mean that the absence of a political solution is the right thing that the international community is doing now, because there will be a ceasefire, as we see, but as long as there is no radical solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I believe that this would be just one episode of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict being ended, waiting for the second episode. How strong, what shape it is going to have, we don't know. And this is one of the key mistakes the international community is committing today, that it is going for a ceasefire without connecting that to a political solution that would guarantee the fulfillment of the Palestinians' national aspirations, the Palestinian statehood on all their Palestinian territories occupied in 1967.
And this, of course, you're talking to us from Jenin in the occupied West Bank. How does the ceasefire now implicate people where you are in the occupied regions, where since October 7th, 2023, there have been daily incursions by the Israeli army, daily raids that just haven't let up since then? Will that possibly stop once the ceasefire is in place?
And this is another problem, that there is no connection between Gaza and the West Bank, as the negotiations and the ceasefire focuses particularly in Gaza without relating to any of the situations in the West Bank. So I think that here we are not going to see anything new, as Israel is going to continue its incursions and its raids into the different Palestinian cities. The Israeli settlers are given the green light now from their leaders in Israel to escalate their violence and their crimes against the Palestinian people in the West Bank. And we saw today how the Israeli government released the settlers who were involved in setting fire to a Dawabsha family in Nablus region years ago. So the situation is not going to improve here. However, the people in the West Bank are happy to see their brothers and sisters in Gaza returning a little bit to normalcy, with no more Israeli bombs, no more Israeli missiles.
Thank you very much for breaking that down for us. Osama Nazzal there in Jenin in the occupied West Bank.
Thank you.